Today on Core Conversations, we have Dr. Jeff Matheson. Dr. Jeff is one of the doctors involved in developing pure form omega 3 and 6 complex. He explains why plant-based omega is so good for your body, what the name omega actually means, the impacts that fish oils can have, and how marketing has set it up to be such a wonderful thing, which it isn't really. I learned a lot today. I think that all of us as fitness professionals can take away from this conversation and recognize what benefit this can be for our clients. So enjoy the conversation.
Just a little bit about myself. I mean, I was an emerged physician for 15 years, and about 18 years ago I got into chronic pain management and switched over to an all-natural form of chronic pain management about 8 years ago. And during my rediscovery of the natural way of doing medicine, this is when we got this product underway and realized its potential in many different areas of medicine. But the original target market we were looking at was the athletic market, and it still, I think, is a superior product for any athlete that wants to sort of increase his endurance and better aerobic metabolism, things like that.
Yes, yeah. I met you guys at CanFit Pro originally, and I know I've known John Ayton for a while, so he's the one who talked to me at a high level about it and said, you have to talk to Dr. Jeff because he can answer any question under the sun.
Try.
Yeah. Well, I've watched some of your podcasts where we were just talking about the omegas in general. And when I was working at big box gyms, a lot of times they recommend supplements, and they say you definitely need a multivitamin, you definitely need some kind of omega. Right? And they always say package those two. Why are omegas important? And just as a start point, like, why is that something that we always recommend for you?
All right. So one of the issues that comes up is the word omega itself. Omega doesn't really tell much to the average person because it actually doesn't mean a whole bunch. It's actually a biochemical naming term, but it happens to sound pretty cool, and they tend to make a good watch. So
yes.
Yeah. So to break it down, when you're dealing with omegas, they're all fatty acids. That's all omegas are, fatty acids.
Okay.
And going back to your sort of high school chemistry or biology days, fatty acids are basically long chains of carbon atoms put together into a molecule. And it has an alpha end and it has an omega end. And if you count from the omega end, the first double bond is, if it's at the 3 position, it's omega 3. If it's at the 6 position, it's omega 6. But it actually doesn't tell you anything about the rest of that chain. And unfortunately, what's happened is that omegas have been used just as a generic term to say you need omegas, but they're very different based on how long they are. So the essential fats are from plants, and one of the issues has come up is that omegas of the essential, or the essential name has been co-opted and put on things derived from fish, which is the classic fish oil.
Yes.
Now, unfortunately, fish oil are 20 and 22 carbons with more double bonds in them, which makes them more unstable. Okay. And they don't do the same things. Fish need those extra carbon atoms and the extra double bonds in them because they live at a low temperature, like around 0 degrees centigrade. Like they're from a mile below the ocean.
Yes.
If they had the same 18 carbon fatty acids in their cell membrane structure that we did, they would turn into a block of ice. They would just freeze.
Gotcha.
Not so good. So we exist at 37 degrees Celsius or 98 Fahrenheit. So our body temperature is much warmer, so we don't need those unstable fats. We actually need the 18 carbon fats in our cell membranes. And what's interesting about these 18 carbon fats from plants, and the omega-6 is actually the more important component, is that your cell membrane is made of 25 to 33% omega-6. Your mitochondria, which is the organelle within the cell that produces all the energy the cell needs, is 40% omega-6, but the portion that produces all the energy that the mitochondria makes, which is the cardiolipin, is 100% omega-6. And it turns out that the 18 carbon omega-6 from plants has the same oxygen carrying capacity as hemoglobin, which is what carries oxygen to our whole bodies.
Right. Yes.
So for the athlete, when you put the proper omega-6 into all those different cell membranes, you increase the efficiency at which oxygen gets from your lungs to the mitochondria where it's used to produce energy. And that's why every athlete who starts using our product notices that boost in aerobic metabolism. They have much less lactic acid buildup, so they don't get sore the next day. So as you probably know, that leg day can be pretty killer.
Yes.
The next day. When you're on this product, that's not nearly as bad.
Right. Yes.
So again, it's all about getting better cell, better efficiency to the cells. So you're producing energy much more efficiently. So, of course, overall health improves whenever all your cells are working better.
Yes. Yeah. Can I give you just a practical example of that? I told John this one time. For those of you who don't know, back when we had access to like other people and stuff in our world, I did a lot of shows on the shopping channel. So for Tony Little, like doing like the gazelles and stuff like that, or like Bowflex, so there'd be shows where they're in a 24-hour period where I would do 7, 8, 9 shows back to back. So I'm the guy in the background on the elliptical machine. So I've been using these omegas and did a lot of research on that like you said about the oxygen uptake and the lactic acid buildup, which it helps to prevent. And I'm going to ask you about that in a second. But my personal experience from it was doing 8 shows in a row of cardio back to back. And then the next day my car was at a mechanic, and instead of having to get an Uber to get to get my car, I decided to just do that nice little like 4K run to pick up my car, drive home. And it wasn't until I started driving home I was like, I should really be sore after doing 8 shows of car like in a row and then going for a quick run. But my recovery is better. Like I really didn't even notice it, other than just a general like tiredness, but like not that I can't walk today feeling. And that's one of the things I noticed, that when it's in my system, when I'm doing it on a regular basis, that there is that difference in my body.
Yeah, and we get stories like that all the time. And of course, whenever you improve oxygenation, you also decrease inflammation, right? So if you have any sort of arthritic problems or anything like that, all of that does settle down. To give an example, I had a friend of mine actually who he is an ultra marathoner, and he was complaining of sore knees. He did both knees scoped twice, so a lot of damage to his knees. And he's nearly, he's around 50, same age as I was. And I said, you got to try these. And so he went on them, and he ran 4 100-kilometer marathons plus the Calgary Death Race all in one summer, and had no injuries for the first time in his entire career.
Wow.
That's that's the kind of thing you get. I mean, I've had another friend of mine. She used to compete in bodybuilding, and she was working out and screwed. 1 week before competition, screwed up her knee, and I'm sure that's a kind of a disaster, right there, right? Because you work you work so hard to get towards the thing. She just started pounding back the omega. She was taking 15 a day, and within 3 days her knee had gone back to normal, and she was able to compete.
That is crazy.
And so it does help, and it helps with not only inflammatory issues, but it helps with healing. I mean, I have a lot of patients who use it post-operatively or when they have wounds and stuff, and they do very nicely with that. And we have a really nice result with there's a community of patients called epidermolysis bullosa, which are a genetic skin condition where their skin is very fragile and sloughs off very easily, and they always have open wounds. And we've only just been dealing with this population since November, but already we're getting tremendous results. In fact, we had a child in Calgary who was 18 months old who wasn't walking because he kept getting blisters on his feet. And after he started taking the Pureform, within 2 weeks, he's walking all over the place and stuff. And his mother said his number of blisters he used to get per day went from 55 down to 5.
Wow.
And that's pretty impressive when you can do that for a little kid.
Yes. Oh,
And that's
absolutely.
the other thing about it, because it's what our cells are actually made of, and it's weight-based dosing. It's actually safe for kids and safe for dogs and pets. It's all mammals. Cell membranes are made of the same similar stuff.
Interesting. I didn't know that for
Yeah,
dogs you use it. Yeah.
yeah. You can use it for your dog. It works great. I give it to my
Now,
dog every day.
really, eh?
Yeah.
So now with this omega-3 is the main one that you're saying that we need.
Z omega 6 is
Oh,
actually
sorry.
the
I'm
most
sorry.
important. That's what people have
Omega-6.
really screwed up. We have so much um, advertising around omega 3 pushed at us. We're actually
Right.
ignoring the basic biochemistry, and it's actually the omega 6 is much more important. People keep saying we get enough omega 6 from our food, but we actually get way too much processed omega 6 from our food. And that's the key issue that nobody seems to be discussing.
Right.
When you process something, you heat it multiple times, and when you heat it in the presence, you heat any of these omegas in the presence of oxygen, they're going to degrade.
Yes.
And so when we're using cooking oils such as canola oil, soy oil, corn oil, any of those vegetable oils, we're actually using degraded omegas. And the problem is our body can't tell the difference between a degraded one and a good one.
Okay.
And so if you incorporate those degraded omegas into your cell membranes, you're actually preventing oxygen from getting in.
Yes.
Right. So you're actually making things worse. And of course, I'm sure over the years you've seen that the health, like people are getting arthritis at much younger ages, right?
Yes.
I mean, when I was first started practicing medicine 30 years ago, arthritis was a problem in people in their 70s and 80s, right?
Yes.
But I'm sure you have friends who are looking at knee replacements in their 40s and 50s, and it's like that was unheard of.
Absolutely. Oh,
30 years
athletes.
ago.
Like I have, I joke with one of my old clients, a squash guy, and he's maybe 10 years younger than me, and he acts like he's 60. Like everything's
Yeah,
broken, right? Like just
that's
from
right.
the pounding of certain sports. And for example, 1080 Speed, one of the guys on here, Harold, works with sprinters, right? So I'm
Yeah.
sure you see like this is one of those things where I'm sure for sprinters, because there's such a different
Oh,
energy
yeah.
system demand.
Well, sure. Well, a sprinter, of course, aerobic metabolism is everything to them because they have to stay in aerobic metabolism for that 10 or 15 seconds, whatever distance they're doing. But if they have the proper fats in their cell membranes, they can maintain aerobic metabolism for longer, which in a sprinter, a 6% difference is immense, right?
Yes.
And there's actually mouse experiments using these omegas showing that they will get a 6 to 8% improvement in their performance. And if you're an Olympic caliber sprinter, an extra few hundreds of a seconds is the difference between last and gold.
Right, absolutely. A podium finish is fractions of a second.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I see Brooke Seiler is here. Some Pilates. Obviously, with my community, there's a lot of Pilates people here, and the reason why I love this product and I wanted to have you on is because as Pilates people, we understand that it's more than just doing bicep curls. That we're thinking about
Yeah.
longevity and
Hmm.
how do we move from this performance-based. I'm trying to get a contract workout to I'm trying to
Hmm.
live to be 100 workout.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
and they're two different
Exactly.
things, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of people who just want to look a certain way, whereas most people, they want to feel healthy all the way through. As you probably know, a lot of bodybuilders, I mean, a lot of them are dead by the age of 50 or 60 because they're after a certain look and they're sacrificing everything for that look. Whereas people who want genuine health, this is the basics, the basis of everything. If you have a healthy cell membrane, everything else flows from that. I mean, you can take all the micronutrients you want, but you will not improve your cellular health until that membrane is healthy. And there's very few products in the market that address that, and Pureform is one of those.
Right. So then why is there so much marketing towards, like you said, the omega-3s and to fish oils?
Yeah, so that actually started back in 1976. There was a bad study on the Inuit of Greenland. And it was a Danish study, which has been totally debunked. But basically, these guys did an observation saying it looks like these guys, that the Inuit aren't dying of heart disease. Well, first of all, they didn't know what they died of because there very few people got autopsies back in the 1970s in Greenland.
Of course.
But they just assumed that was because of their high fish diet. Well, the Inuit actually don't eat that much fish. They eat much more seal blubber and whale blubber and stuff like that. So that's mammal fat, which is high in omega-6. But they made that assumption, and the fish oil, the fish industry at that time, I grew up on the East Coast, so what the fishing trawlers do, they clean the fish and they dump all the livers and stuff overboard, and you'd have these massive amounts of seagulls following these trawlers because they'd be processing the fish in real time. Yeah. Well, once the fish industry heard that you could save the livers, get the oil out of them, and sell it as a health product, it solved a big problem for them and gave them an extra revenue source. And so then they started putting fish oil on the market as a healthy product, right? All based on this bad science. But now there's so much momentum behind it because there's so much money behind it. But you ask anybody who takes fish oil, I bet you most people say they can't tell the difference. In fact, there's some evidence that fish oil can cause harm in the longer term. There's a Norwegian study showing that rates of skin cancer are higher amongst people who consume higher amounts of fish oil. And if anyone's consuming fish oil out there, you can look at your skin, if you're lighter skin. If you see age spots on your arms or other parts of your body, that's probably oxidized fish oil. And what's really interesting is if you switch over for any length of time to this product, you'll find that those spots start fading. That's pretty interesting. So that's something you can see right in yourself, in your own skin, because there is no omega-3 in the skin. It's one of the interesting things is that the ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 varies on tissue, and the ratio of omega-6 to 3 in your skin is actually 1,000 to 1. In your muscle, it's about 6.5 to 1.
Wow.
So, and Pure Form is a balanced formula of 2.5 to 1 omega-6 to omega-3.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask about that formula.
Yeah. So one of the problems is a lot of natural doctors and stuff, they measure the sort of omega-6 to omega-3 ratio in your blood, and it's around 4 to 1, but they forget that that's just in the blood. Your tissues vary it based on what they need to do. I mean, there's a reason why your skin isn't composed the same as blood, because you would just fall apart. That would be pretty terrible. Right. So of course your body changes things based on what the cell actually does, which makes sense, right? So the body takes in the ratio that it needs, and it'll assign the fats to where they need to go very efficiently.
Oh, great. I was going to ask about that. It's just that assigning. It's just the body's very intelligent in that way.
Sure it is. It's I think of the body as 70 trillion cells that are all cooperating together. Mm-hmm. And then you get more of a sense of what our bodies really are. We're a cooperative of cells. We're not sort of single beings. Think of ourselves as everything cooperating together. Why does the liver only grow to a certain size? Why do kidneys only grow to a certain size? Because that's what they need to do the job. Yes. Right? I mean, if they were all acting autonomously, they would just keep growing continuously, and we'd all be just one big mess of cells with no organization. Has to be some cooperation there.
Interesting. That makes total sense. Yeah. So then now we're back to our omega-3s. I'm sorry, omega-6s. Mm-hmm. And when obviously I love this product. I'm promoting it as much as I can. It's a fantastic product. What do we have to look out for with other omega-6s on the market?
All right.
Or omegas in general?
So the fish-based omega, so that's EPA and DHA. If they contain that, you don't need it, or you need such a low volume of it, maybe 1 or 2%. Pure Form only has 1% EPA and DHA, and those are the longer chain omega-3s from fish oil that everybody has been promoted to. The omega-6 and the omega-3s that are in Pure Form omega are LA and ALA, or linoleic acid and alpha-linolenic acid. It also has a little bit of gamma-linolenic acid, but it won't get too complicated. But LA and ALA are the two essential fatty acids that we have to get from nature. If you're looking at a product and it doesn't have LA and ALA in it, then you don't want to get it. The other thing is that some of the plant-based omegas out there have borage oil in it. Okay. You may have seen. Yeah. The problem with borage oil is it's a little bit complicated, but the stereochemistry, or the way it's actually put together, is very difficult for the body to absorb.
Oh, I Okay.
Okay, so our formulation is based on plants where the stereochemistry of the molecules is easily absorbed. So that's why people feel such a difference very quickly.
Yes.
I'll give you an example of that. We were at a conference actually just before pre-COVID, surprise, surprise, and we have a liquid version available in the States. And there was a woman who came up and she says, she's in her 70s. She says, I run 10K every day. And I said, well, that's great. She says, and I take omegas and I know my body really well. I said, well, that's great. Have you ever tried this? And she says, no, I do fish oil. I said, well, try this and see what you think. So she took a big swig of liquid. She waited 10 seconds. And she says, I'll take 2. She felt it that fast, right? Now, I can't say everybody's going to do that, but people do feel the difference quite quickly because your body's very efficient at getting these fast distributed where they need to be. And so you feel that little energy boost, right? And then Whereas nobody's going to feel that with fish oil. In fact, if you take liquid fish oil, most people will gag on it because it tastes so terrible. And then they get burps on it because, of course, it turns rancid very quickly.
Right.
So
it's so funny you say that, and that reminds me of just my upbringing. West Indians, they give you cod liver oil as you're a child, right? Like that's right.
The cod liver has got vitamin D in it, but I don't know if it has much else of use in it. But that's old school. Yeah, they used to put the fish livers in the barrel, and the oil would rise to the top, and they say, "Here you go," and you hold your nose.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, that's how it works.
Wow, I grew up not just like we're just running from my mom with a spoonful of it, and they're chasing around the house.
That's right. That's old school.
Yeah. When you're talking about injury recovery, my wife was using them for her knee surgery.
Yeah.
So ingesting them, but then also actually, cracking open the capsule and putting it on the wound itself.
Yeah, you can. I mean, it does definitely help. Anything to get, because 99% of the product actually stays in its native state. It doesn't undergo any sort of change by the body, so it gets incorporated straight into your cell membranes. Yes. So whether you use it topically or whether you ingest it, it will work for you. I'll give you an example how fast it works for post-surgical recovery. One of my friends, her mother had a fall out on the East Coast, and she fractured her femur, which is a pretty serious fracture. It's a broken leg of the upper leg, which is a fairly major bone. And she had so much swelling by the time she got to the hospital that they had to put her in traction and couldn't operate for a week. So her daughter flew out with a case of Puriform and started giving her 12 a day. Said, "Mom, you got to start taking these." She had her surgery. 2 weeks later, she went for follow-up with the orthopedic surgeon. The orthopedic surgeon told her she didn't need to see him anymore. Within 2 weeks of major surgery on a leg that healed up so well, he said, "I don't need to see you anymore."
So you don't have to worry about overdosing per se. You just give what the body, because the body will adapt to what it needs, absorb what it needs.
Exactly. You can safely double or triple the dose for anywhere from up to 4 months without any appreciable issues, because it's what your cell membranes are made of.
Right.
And so there really is no issue with doing that. And in fact, I often put people on higher doses who have inflammatory conditions such as cancer or arthritis or whatever. Yes. And I'll typically double or triple their dose for a short period of time so they get that real boost of energy and that real anti-inflammatory effect, and it settles them down very quickly, and then they're on maintenance after that. Yeah.
So 2 separate topics I'd love to just get your opinion on. One is migraines, and the other is IBS. So kind of working on 2 completely different things. So if you could speak to those 2 topics and how this would apply for those products.
Well, they're not that unrelated. All right. Really? So the largest nerve in the body is the vagus nerve, and that's the whole gut-brain connection. So they're actually, a lot of migraine sufferers will have IBS type symptoms, and anyone who has migraines will know that. And that's a whole, you get that gut upset. So migraines are actually very interesting because for 30 years or more we've been taught that migraines are a vascular issue. So they keep talking about dilated blood vessels and the meninges and all that sort of stuff. It turns out that's more of a neurological issue, which makes much more sense. What happens in people who get migraines is the migraine center is at the top of the neck. Okay, and anyone who has migraines knows that that's where their migraines start from. The brain itself is not where you feel the pain of migraines. The brain has no pain receptors. So if you've ever seen neurosurgery done in Grey's Anatomy, it's great for that.
Yes.
The surgery is done while you're awake, right? Surgeon talks to you. So you can't feel it. So what actually happens, the pain goes through the brain and actually exits the brain. So the, the notch above your eye there, people feel that's a nerve that comes out there. You've got several of them around the head. What happens is that nerve comes out, wraps around the skull, and you know where the soft spot in the baby's head is. That's called a fontanelle. When that closes, there's something called a suture line left behind. Turns out those nerves dive back down through the suture line and they innervate the dura, or the lining of the brain. And that's exquisitely sensitive. And that's where headaches and migraines are actually felt. And that's only been known since 2014. So the treatments for migraines are all based on trying to interfere with that pain cycle. And so that's when we started using, Botox and neuroblocks, things like that. But of course, the pure form sort of fits in there because of the anti-inflammatory effect. Because this is again, migraines are an inflammatory problem. So trying to calm down the nerve inflammation. With irritable bowel type symptoms, what people are getting are usually holes in the gut. So they have what's called leaky gut, which is a big topic that's been going on for a couple of years now. Right. And that's probably due to a lot of the chemicals that are in our food today, especially Roundup is well known to do that. And I don't know if anyone knows what Roundup is, but it used to kill the weeds in your driveway with it. Yes. It's the most widely used chemical in the world today. It pokes holes in your gut, causes leaky gut issues. So anyone who's eating genetically modified food, you have leaky gut, and you're going to have issues. So get off that and start eating organic. Right? Stop that poisoning of your system. And what pure form helps do is it helps the cell membranes recover. Right? And anytime you help cell membranes recover, you heal the gut up, and you get better functioning. So a lot of people with irritable bowel type symptoms notice that their symptoms settle down quite a bit when they go on the product.
John, you work a lot with chiropractors as well?
Well, I actually have an osteopath that I work with here. I like osteopaths because they do a lot of soft tissue stuff. They do a lot of functional medicine. They also deal a lot with your posture, because as you probably know, as a Pilates guy, posture is everything. Yes. And of course, Pilates was developed by a guy who was restricted to a very small, confined space for a long period of time, and so posture is everything, and it's all about balance, right? Yes. So because you've seen these guys who work out their pecs like crazy and stuff, and they end up all being sloped forward and all that sort of stuff. Yes. They don't work out their back nearly enough, and what I like about osteopaths, they deal with all that sort of stuff. All about posture, all about how you do things and stuff, and trying to work on, and you probably know this as well, people who have sore backs and stuff, it's often the side that's not sore is the weak part. They're probably too strong on the one side, right? So so when you work on the other side, actually pain resolves. So I mean, it's that's why I like working with that. I also have naturopaths in the clinic that I work with that optimize nutritional status and things like that, and they can deal with some of the more difficult challenges that I'll face, because as a physician, it's interesting when you're a physician in Ontario, you work within a certain box, and it's hard to work outside that box because it's the way the system works, right? Doctors have a box, and you need people to help you outside that.
Yes, exactly. And and that's why even with Pilates, I call it prehab as opposed to rehab.
Yeah, that's good. Right. Yeah, setting your body up to function optimally, right?
Yes, exactly.
Which makes a lot of sense.
Yes, no, that's really good. So, where can we find this product?
So you can go to www.purelifescience.com. It's purelifescience.com, and you can buy the product there. There is a limited number of naturopaths that actually offer it in their clinics, more in the United States than in Canada. That's the best place to. Remember, it's weight-based dosing. So our initial the dose is usually 1 capsule per 30 pounds body weight. So you just take your body weight in pounds, the old system, divided by 30, and that's the number of capsules you take daily. Most people will take it in one dose in the morning, or you can split it up at 1 dose in the morning or 1 at noon. Sometimes I find that people who take it at night, they get so much energy they can't sleep very well.
Okay.
And so sometimes I'll say, some people do fine. They sleep fine at night. Some people just can't do it, and they'll take it at noon. But just it can be with or without food, just with water. It doesn't matter. It's an essential fat. Your body's looking out for it. It absorbs it right away. And don't take it with fish oil, because your body will take this up. It'll leave the fish oil behind, and you'll end up with diarrhea. So
good to know.
Don't take them together.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Jeff. Any kind of closing or final thoughts in terms of to our health and fitness community that is just looking to just help people get better?
Yeah, if you're into health, you're already looking out for yourself. Don't put poisons in your body. Stick as organic as possible. Try the product. What does it cost you? I guess Canadian around $50 with delivery and taxes and everything. Try the product and see what it does for you. The product does speak for itself, and you will notice the difference pretty quickly, usually in the first 2 to 4 weeks. There really is no downside. It is all about health. It doesn't have any, we don't have any allergy problems with it usually. If you're worried about allergies because you got some sort of nut allergy, you can actually break a capsule, put it to oil on your skin and see if it reacts. And if it doesn't react, you're probably fine. But there's really not much of a downside to this product, and it can really only help you. And anyone who knows their body really well, they'll feel it. They will know.
Yes. Amazing. Thanks again for your time, Jeff. I really appreciate it.
All right, thank you. All right, have a good day.
Have a great day. Thanks.
Okay, bye.
Thank you so much for joining us today on Core Conversations. This organic platform has been made possible by amazing people like yourself. So if you're a Pilates instructor or a movement specialist of some kind and you want to be a guest, please message me. If you're in some other field and the messages just resonate with you, message me. I'd love to have you on. All of our messages connect, and for some reason they all help us in this battle. We're all in this game together, so I'd love to hear from you. Let your words be life to someone else. Check out our website, personalvictory.ca. Click the Core Conversations page to see who our upcoming guests are, and I will see you next time on Core Conversations.